Why am I blanking on the Suns forward name who just got back?
Jae Crowder?
No.
Oh, Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson. I was going to say Cam Thomas. I think I'm influenced by your pod. I know, he's on the Nets.
They're basically both stretch fours who just only shoot three. So,
yeah. But now that he's back, but like when he was out, the Suns really could have used Crowder. And the Bucks right now went from Giannis being out for 4 or 5 games to now Bobby being out for a couple of weeks. That's when they needed the backup big. That was the whole point of having him. But whatever, digression. But yeah, I think they'll need a backup big. It's not as important. That's a regular season like innings eater kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think a big body or some shooting or upgrading Grayson. But I just think that's harder to do and less likely to happen.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Grayson's on the way out. Like, if you had to guess based on the reporting and where things are headed, do you think the Jae Crowder deal is dead, or do you think there's still a possibility that he's a Buck?
I think it's happening. I think it's happening for sure. I think the Suns situation right now is so weird, right? They have the owner coming in apparently like the day before the deadline. So they might be waiting on that. Like, I'm kind of wondering, is he going to go full new owner syndrome and like announce trades at his intro presser, which would be like the classic, like, I own this team now, let me make a bang. Like, I'll announce this 4-team trade where we get OG or whatever the hell they get. And plus there is the, they're trying to find a third team, I think. I don't think the Suns are interested in any of the Bucks stuff. So they've got to find, like, who can reroute, the George Hill, Jordan Wara, Serge Ibaka, 3 second-round picks to. They send a forward to Phoenix. Phoenix sends Crowder to Milwaukee. So I think both of those things are going on. And that's why. But, I mean, the fact that the Suns gave the Bucks and only the Bucks permission to meet with Crowder, and they did, presumably to talk about an extension or a role on the team, it just seems like that's going to happen. It's just a matter of what exactly ends up going to Phoenix and what third or however many teams are involved. Maybe it's directly part of the trade where, someone on the Raptors or John Collins or whoever goes to Phoenix even. So I just think there's so many moving parts for the Suns that they're kind of like, yeah, we'll send Crowder to the Bucks. The Bucks will send stuff somewhere. Let's figure out the other parts now. That's not sourced at all. That's just my read on what's happening with those teams. And there's just, like I said, so much seems like going on in Phoenix right now. The Bucks are probably like, can you just trade us Jae Crowder already, please? Like, we're ready to have Jae Crowder on our team. But I think the Suns are not quite there yet.
I just imagine the new owner coming in like Ari from Entourage with Jae Crowder, where he's like, get the I'm like, that's his first move. Like, he just goes to the press conference, like, Jae Crowder's out of here. And the other thing is, like, with Cam Johnson being hurt all year, like, he could have just started this whole time and probably been out sooner. Like, he would have just started. It would have been fine. Like, he would have played a lot. I don't understand that one at all. Like,
well, now they're saying it's an extension thing now, which is like, I guess, but it's very weird. Yeah. And usually I'd have more reservation about trading for a guy in this spot, but also, like,
you need him and you trust the Bucks culture and, like, y'all want a title. Like, there's teams where you're like, just bring him in. It's like the Heat are in that conversation. Like, you're in that conversation where it's just, you just kind of trust your culture that you've built, that, like, he comes in, he slides in, he's fine.
100%.
I do think it's kind of weird that people are like, they put him in the same zone as PJ Tucker, right? Where it's like, oh, he fills the PJ Tucker bullet. And I'm like, kind of. PJ Tucker's a different kind of dude. PJ Tucker, I think Jae Crowder has more opportunities to hit more shots than PJ Tucker.
100%,
which is more important. But I think the defense and just the tank mentality of PJ Tucker is still just something that cannot be replicated even by Jae Crowder, who's a fine defender, but he's not PJ Tucker.
I 100%. Also, the rebounding is a lot different. I mean, PJ's offensive rebounding, but it's like, I'm really intrigued to see what the team looks like with Crowder, assuming they get him, because I think there's been a little bit of a shift to offense lately. I mean, Ingles has helped with that too, and just like more personnel that does stuff with the ball. And that's like Crowder, like PJ to Crowder is definitely a big shift of like, PJ I think is better defensively, but Crowder scores like 10 points a game. Like, you look at last playoffs, and this was a comp I was referencing a lot when the trade seemed like it would involve Grayson, which it no longer does. Like, I think PJ has sat out so long that the Bucks and other teams are like, we're not going to give you that much. We haven't seen the guy play at all. But like, Crowder in the last postseason, I think, scored more per game than Grayson Allen, who's thought of as like the offensive player, and he is a better shooter and probably a better fit with the Bucks. But like, Crowder still scores. Like, he gets to the rim, he'll make a couple threes. I think he's an insanely streaky shooter. I'm not going to rely on him, but it is still like, whereas PJ would be like, I remember during the Nets series that like he was asked like, is it disappointing to you? Like, do you think you need to score more? He's like, I'm guarding Kevin Durant. I should have to score 0. And he did score 0 like 5 times in that playoff run. It just wasn't a priority for him.
Yeah.
Which it worked. It was fine. It fit what the Bucks wanted to do.
But that's not Jae Crowder.
No. So it's just different. And I'm kind of excited to see like what that also impact has on the rest of the Bucks. Maybe they're a little bit less of a slog. Like they're fun to watch in the playoffs, but they're so like, we're going to score 95, you're going to score 90, or we're going to score 110, you're going to score 101. Maybe they'll be a little more fast-paced. I'm not sure. We'll see. They are still a big, strong team, even with Crowder. So it'll be. I just can't. I'm excited for playoff Bucks, as you can tell.
How about this? Stay or gone at the deadline. Here's your clairvoyant tie opportunity here.
I like this.
Grayson Allen, is he on or off this team after the deadline?
I think he's on the team at this point.
Pat Connaughton.
Definitely on the team. People, the Pat for Crowder trade that was mentioned, I was like, no, absolutely not. How many firsts would the Suns throw in for that? I'm not sure, but the Bucks are probably saying no. It's too important.
I like it. Khris Middleton.
On the team, for sure.
Serge Ibaka.
For sure off. Like number 1 most likely to be off. I think no matter what, if everything else falls through, they'll send him somewhere.
Okay. Javon Carter.
I think on.
Okay. George Hill.
Probably off, and this pains me. Second year, they had to send him off for the contract. He'd get a ring this time at least, but it hurts me. He's played okay this year. His salary is just necessary to get Crowder or someone like that.
Grayson Allen.
Still on.
Okay. Are you enjoying that? Do you enjoy the Grayson Allen experience?
No, not really. No, but I think if you asked me by the end of the offseason, I'd probably guess off, especially. Like, if they do get Crowder and extend him, it'd probably be a similar salary figure to Grayson. And then you have to see how both play. They'll have an Ingles decision. They'll be able to re-sign him at roughly the same or not if they want to. It's going to be interesting. But I don't enjoy it. But I think, he does what he does. It's fine. And the Grayson proponents will tell you he was asked to do too much against Boston. And I think that's true. He was asked to do too much. I don't know if I trust him to even do a little less. But I do think it's likely to look better than, like, okay, can you just stand in and start and give us some approximation of Khris? And he was like, no, I can't. So I think if he's, a couple layers lower on the totem pole, a couple levels lower, he'll look better and, he can do what he does and he's fine. I don't think they have to trade him. I'm open to it, but, I don't think they're like going to press and like, we need to get rid of this guy because he can help them. He can hit shots, space the floor or whatever.
Thanasis.
Always on. Always on. If he's off the team, something's gone really. Unless he started a podcast now. Unless he's going full-time media and he doesn't want the $1.8 million every year, I think he's going to be on the team.
What a good gig, man! He's got a great gig.
It's good.
Got a really good
motivational
gig.
Speaker, basically.
Yeah. Has Jrue Holiday taken the lead? Because what's interesting too, we were talking about all-star stuff and how it's interesting. I think when you're a fan of a team and like listening to other folks nationally talk about your team and like who should be first team, like. Trae Young is like, he's not an all-star. Like, if you ask me as someone who watches all these games, like, Trae Young's the 3rd best player on the Hawks this year. Like, as of late, like, he's the 3rd. DeJounte, it's not even particularly close. Like, DeJounte Murray's been the best player.
Yeah.
And anyone who's like, oh, we're putting Trae in over DeJounte and you're my all-star team. I'm like, all right, you haven't watched the Hawks at all this year. Like, that's all I needed to know from you. And then you look at AJ Griffin, who is going to be a really, really good player. But he is so much fun, best shot creator. He's been really, really important in his minutes, and he saved some of the games for the Hawks this year. Like, he is a really good player, good defender. Very excited about AJ Griffin. Better player, more fun to play with, all that.
Wow, better player than Trae Young this year. I like that.
So much fun. Like Trae, oh my goodness. Like, it's funny. Like, I was back home in Atlanta for the weekend. Took my wife to her first Hawks game. And
nice.
It was fun. Kawhi Leonard hurt my feelings late in
He'll do that. He will do that. Speaking from experience.
Yeah. But you know what? I was just happy that I got to see Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and this whole group healthy because you just don't know anymore like when you're going to see guys on because you plan these trips out and you're like, I hope he's not missing this game. And I was just glad that he was there. But it was one of those where I was like, here's the crossover. Like, here's AJ. Like, he finds his spots. He doesn't play like a rookie at all. And then Trae will get frustrated because, like, Trae, if DeJounte takes the ball up 2 times in a row and does stuff, then Trae's like, all right, it's my turn. And then I'm going to do something stupid. And he had a bunch of turnovers. And he just gets lost on every defensive possession. Like you watch Trae, I would highly encourage people just watch Trae Young on defense, like for a full game. If you haven't watched the Hawks, just watch Trae on defense. Fast forward the offense stuff. Just watch what happens on defense with Trae Young. It's just he can't. Like he's smaller and he's just never in the right spot. He gets killed on backdoor cuts all the time. It just gets killed in ball screens. Like he's just not. And then DeJounte's over here like a pterodactyl all the time, like just swiping everything. And he's great. Like I love the DeJounte Murray experience, but the Trae Young experience has not been great at all this year.